Homotherapy comes from Vedas. Vedas is the ancientmost body of knowledge known to mankind. It is given in a language called Sanskrit, which was nobody's mother tongue any time on earth. All languages of the world have words coming from Sanskrit. There is not a single word in Sanskrit language which comes from any other language. Yes. So this is a heritage, this is a patrimony of all human beings, and this is nothing regional. All this knowledge existed all over the world, but in course of time things got lost, and now it is being resuscitated to get us out of these polluted conditions in which we find ourselves today. We find today that whether we liked it or not, whether we wished or not, we have handed ourselves on a silver platter of technology into jaws of death. So this is why the reason why homotherapy is now being resuscitated by divine will and practiced all over the world. The basic idea in homotherapy is you heal the atmosphere and the healed atmosphere heals you. The basic tool in Homa therapy is called Agnihotra. Agnihotra is a small fire you prepare in a copper pyramid tuned to the biorhythm of sunrise and sunset. It is told that exactly at sunrise, for example, they tell us what is sunrise. What I am telling you is not the definition, but it is a description as given in the ancient Guru tradition of knowledge coming from Atharva Veda, ancient knowledge. It is described like this: the coordinate of the planet where the sun appears to rise, a flood of energy comes from the sun, which consists of several types of electricities and subtle energies. It is an inundation which purifies everything that comes in its wake. You see, they say where the sun is set to rise, because sun does not rise and sun does not set. It is only an appearance due to the rotation of the earth around the sun. So we have to catch the first rays of the sun to bring healing effect all over the planet, for all plant kingdom, also for humans, animals, and it is a wonderful tool also in psychotherapy. We prepare fire in a small pyramid of fixed size. The materials used in preparing this fire are available all over the world. We use dried cow dung. When I say cow dung, I mean go-vansha, that is male or female of a cow. That is one thing. Second thing is cow's ghee. Only cow and not any other animal, It should be pure cow's ghee. And the third thing is a few grains of rice, as much as you can hold in the tip of your fingers, or even in these three, for example, fingers like this. Actually, it is not only rice, but it is akshata. Akshata is not rice. Akshata, kshata means vrana, that is wound. Akshata means the rice should not have any wound on its body. That means it is unbroken rice. If rice is broken, and both the pieces will have, if you make chemical analysis, you will find that it is the same. But according to ancient science, the subtle structure which exists around that rice is broken, and therefore it is not suitable for any type of healing process or any type of Mangal Karya. Now in India this knowledge is lost, but some tradition remains. For example, you go to any village, anywhere from Kashmir to Kanyakumari or Dwarka to Jagadishpuri, anywhere you go, any village, you will find an elderly woman without any education If she is to cook some food, she will call it rice, akki, chawal, or whatever the language. But for puja or any mangal karya, she will she will not say rice, she will say akshata. But actually, it has to be akshata, means unbroken. The word kshatriya comes from kshatat trayate iti kshatriyaha, one who protects the society from getting wounded. He is called kshatriya. So it has to be akshata. But secondly, it is better to use less polished rice so that the nutrition goes into the fire. We prepare this fire a few minutes before the moment of sunrise and sunset, which is given by the timetable. This service is available all over the world free. When exactly the first ray of the sun will come to your house or to your farm. It is very easy to calculate that now with modern instruments now. So you keep that fire ready just a few minutes before. Exactly when that moment comes, it is given in, of course, minutes and seconds. So as soon as that second comes, you do the first mantra. Suryaya swaha, Suryaya idannamama. After the word swaha, you put this rice, you have to apply, of course, a little ghee and keep it ready either on a left hand or in a small copper plate. Copper is the only material recommended for this. Of course, copper or gold, but gold is out of question. So you do this mantra. After the word swaha, you put a few grains of rice into the fire. And the second mantra is Prajapataye swaha, Prajapataye idam namama. After the word swaha, you put rice to the body of which you have applied ghee. By the way, this another material was this ghee. I forgot it. Ghee only from the cow, of course. That completes morning Agnihotra. For the evening, the mantras are Agnaye Swaha, Agnaye Idannamama. After the word Swaha, you put a few grains of rice into the fire. Prajapataye Swaha, Prajapataye Idannamama. You put a few grains of rice into the fire after the word Swaha. This completes evening Agnihotra. It is very simple to learn. Anyone we have seen anywhere, anybody in the world, you can just learn in a few minutes this particular thing. Of course, if you miss the timing, it will not have any effect. This can be used, Agnihotra, as a tool to grow better quality food and more quantity food. That means this is taught as Homa organic farming. The ash from this Agnihotra is extremely medicinal. All this was developed by doctors in Germany in the last 20 years after making trials and experiments with several hundred patients. So they have actually resuscitated the lost science of Ayurveda so far as what is called medicines made from this, from the what is called bhasma or vibhuti, which comes from this Agnihotra, which is the end product of this Agnihotra. By the way, it is interesting to note that all over the world, you go to Europe, you go to South America, you go to the natives of United States, for example, anywhere in Africa, you go to China, one thing you will find, cow dung is taken as a very special medicinal substance in all continents by the ancients. In fact, as recently as about 60 years ago, there were treatments in Scandinavia. I have seen it in Sweden, for example. Only treatment for tuberculosis was keep the patient in a cow shed, because they know the effect of the cow, breath of a cow, and the dung. So it was common knowledge. If you open any book written in any European language on folk medicine, written at the beginning of the last century, for example, you will find always a few pages about cow dung. So this is a medicinal substance now. They describe Agnihotra like this, the effect. As soon as you utter the word Swaha, by the way, it is Ananta Koti Brahmanda Nayaka. Out of this, ours is one Surya Malika, solar system. Out of that, ours is one planet. So what I am talking about, what I know, is only about our planet, and was specifically told that on other planets, things are a little different. They practice Agnihotra, but things are a little different. So these measurements I am talking about only relate to our planet Earth. Now, they tell us, ancient Guru tradition of knowledge, that the first effect, as soon as you utter this Swaha and put this rice in, goes approximately 12 kilometers in space, and it catches something from above and it brings the nutrition down. Secondly, they say that after putting this rice and uttering the word Swaha, so long as the fire goes on, there will be an aura energy field around each blade of grass, around each tree in the vicinity. And when that nutrition again rebounds to the pyramid, it is absorbed in this aura energy field which exists around these plants. The plants become happy, they give a feedback effect of love to the atmosphere, and of course the plants also become happy and they get this nutrition. This is the basic tool in Homa Therapy, organic farming, for example. Of course, for farming, you have to do a few more things. So we are telling the people now that practice any type of organic. Of course, chemical is absolutely out of the way. I mean, not to think about it now. So if you have any problems with the method of organic, for example, this biodynamic was a wonderful method developed by Dr. Rudolf Steiner. But again, the same method which used to give wonderful benefits 10 years ago, now it is getting less benefit. It is not fault of the system. It is because of the hybrid pollution that exists today. The whole world has changed in the last 30 years or 40 years as it has not changed in several thousand years. Agnihotra can be used for psychotherapy, for drug de-addiction. It is a wonderful tool for especially adolescents to help their mind. Then for anybody, you can find in 15 days that the mind becomes tranquil, because atmosphere, prana and mind are connected. You bring about a beneficial change in the atmosphere and it is automatically transposed to the realm of the mind. So atmosphere, prana and mind, this is the nexus, this is the modus operandi. So in this way we bring about a special change in the atmosphere, and that is how the effect goes on the mind and vice versa. Mind is treated as subtle matter in this old science. So this is the basic yajna, this is the basic homa, this is the basic havan which everyone is asked to do to offer his services in helping the healing cycle of nature to go on. This coming of this Agnihotra, of course, was told also in the Bible. At some places there are references to this. Then that fire is sacred is told in all what are called so-called religions, whether it is Muslim, Christian, Jewish, and of course Hindus. Fire is sacred everywhere, all this. But these other scientific things regarding the fire, they are lost, for example. Now, for example, there is a reference in the Bible in the chapter of Exodus when Moses sees the burning bush and the bush burns not. That very moment he is told by God, remove thy shoes off thy feet, for thou art treading holy ground. So wherever there is holy fire, you have to remove your shoes first and then tread the ground. So this is not only India, this practice is common all over. and catching the first rays of the sun. It was a very common thing in old days, especially in countries like Peru and also several South American countries. Normally, when we talk of a pyramid, we have idea about this pyramid as they exist. They wanted the energy to go to the dead body of the emperor, therefore we are used to these pyramids. We want the whole thing to go to the atmosphere. So this is actually the pyramid. Now, this size and all the steps, they are also important. I was working for several years with the Soviet scientists on this Agnihotra, psychotherapy, and other aspects of this Agnihotra and other yajnas. They worked on different types of pyramid, different sizes, different shapes, of course, and ultimately they say this is the most ideal thing. For that is what is told in our Guru tradition. Of course, it has to be either copper or gold only. It takes only a few minutes of your time, but you will see the effects only in 15 days, how it heals the mind. And now a time has come when it appears that everything is lost. Now, for example, according to NASA, the American Space Agency, they say that all the trees in Amazon are sick. Of course, they are being legally or illegally cut, that is one thing, but they are sick, and they are expecting not more than 3 or 4 years when these trees will die. And then they say if these trees die, what is called a rainforest area, there will not be enough oxygen on the planet to breathe, and human beings will not be able to live on the planet. Of course, they have been telling that for a long time. Secondly, if you look at the ozone layer, we go to Antarctica every few months, there are people practicing. Antarctica means last human habitation. There are several people practicing this. There the situation is such. All the fish has become blind, sheep have become blind, and people's skins, so much. And the television tells us not to go out in the sun just for a few moments. Now, about ozone, this is due to the holes in the ozone. It has started from Antarctica and also Arctic. According to old Guru tradition of knowledge, we are told before the rays of the sun touch the planet, it should pass through a carpet of nutrition. And that carpet of nutrition can be created by various homas and yajnas as prescribed. According to these modern things now, there are big holes in the ozone layer, and therefore you will find everywhere now leukemia, cancer, and all these different types. There is no cure. Secondly, the scientists now tell us that all rain that falls on the planet is acid rain. Even if we stop all our factories and all our automobiles, which we are not going to do, but even if we do it, it is not enough. What has already gone in the atmosphere is enough to bring acid rain. And they tell us just in 3 to 4 years, a situation will come when the top 15 centimeters or 6 inches of topsoil all over the world will become acidic and nothing will grow. You plant something, it will not grow. You plant again, it will not grow. Under such circumstances, Homa organic farming is the only way out. It is useful from all points of view. Of course, it is a science, so here, we have to share this with all the people. Those who are ready by their karma, they are immediately attracted to this, and that way the planet is going to be saved. So far as scientists are concerned, they say absolutely the planet cannot be saved now. Several years ago, 2 countries, that is Russia and United States, they have space technology. So they said they know better how the planet is being destroyed. And they had given reports to their government that after few years after 2000, better think of taking all the population to some other planet, because it's not possible for life to exist on this planet now. So we saw about acid rain, we saw about this, all our life depends on this 15 centimeters of topsoil. All these problems are solved by Homa therapy, organic farming, which is easy to practice, and it gives very quick results now. So whether it is ozone thing, whether it is the spoilage of all this water, subsoil water, all these things, all these problems are solved. So far as modern agriculture is concerned, scientists talk only about soil, mainly about soil and a little about water. They say, okay, get the soil analysis, these things are missing, microelements, and also this, do this, that's all. Then they'll talk a little about water. But according to ancient science, very important part of farming is the atmosphere, what is called Vatavarana. That is the avarana of Vata. If that Vatavarana changes, then immediately everything changes. So yajna is a method to inject that Vatavaran and put nutrition into that Vatavaran so that people are able to lead a very happy life. So this is in short, a simple process of Agnihotra. If you practice it correctly with the proper materials, you will come to know in 15 days the effect. Of course, if you have potted plants in your house, you put only to some little of this, what is called vibhuti or bhasma, to these plants, and you will see how they thrive. But anyway, plants are very simple organisms. Human mind is much more complicated than plants. But here you will be able to notice the effect on yourself. You will find, as if from nowhere, love comes into the family. It is a wonderful tool for adolescents. It is a wonderful tool for children. It has a fantastic effect. We have seen all these things. So what we call adolescent programs, women's programs, drug de-addiction programs. No drug de-addiction program, alcohol and drug de-addiction program really succeeds because easily people revert back to it. Here, with this Homa, you get some tool which has an effect on the person's mind, and the motivation comes, that means half the battle is won. People have worked on large scale. For example, the farmers in Amazon region of Republic of Peru in South America, thousands of farmers are now practicing this Homa. That means with Homas and mantras, they are growing their food now. You have to make use of Agnihotra ash also. You see, people, for example, any person connected with any university, when you talk of agriculture, he will first tell you, okay, this is nitrogen, this is phosphorus, this is P2O, K2O, that you have to use. And then more you use this, later on you have to use stronger of this, and later on more you do this, more insects and pests come, and then you have to use stronger, and ultimately a stage comes when these insects become immune and nothing grows. This is the report of what we call so-called green revolution. Actually, I read somewhere somebody used the word greed revolution, which is equally true now. Now, you will see that this Agnihotra ash, which we use for planting and in these agricultural operations, has the capacity to extract P2O5, phosphorus, from the soil, whatever soil is available. That itself is a very important thing. To make phosphorus water soluble, what are the modern methods? For example, take a country like India. We have to import rocks from the Middle East containing 46 to 48% non-soluble P2O5. Then we have to import sulfur by paying foreign currency, and we have to turn that sulfur into sulfuric acid, which is extremely polluting for air, water, soil and everything, and treat this sulfuric acid treatment to this rock, and then you get 16 to 18% of soluble phosphorus, what is called superphosphate, for example. You can avoid all this. And below 45, 46%, it is not commercial, what they call this rock phosphate. But here, even if it is much less than that, the ash has the capacity to extract and make things water soluble. This we have seen. Government of Peru, especially what is called the Office of the President of Peru, they have taken trials on all crops grown in that area, and on large scale, at one time 3,000 acres, one group 100 acres, like that, 30 groups simultaneously. So all types of documentation is ready now. If you are interested, you can see that documentation. So this is something about agriculture. Now, it is something very sad to know that in that Amazon area, where we have been living for the last 5 years, for example, the cows are dying. Cows are sick. And sometimes it is difficult even to use the dung now. So, actually, I asked one university there, a normal university, to work on these cows. We had some credentials because they have seen how Homa works with this farming system. So there, one university, the dean himself of their department, he worked for more than, I think, 18 months observing the effect of Agnihotra on cows. There were 2 farms, Homa farms, next to the university. So he saw this effect as compared to, and the preliminary observations themselves are so wonderful. For example, of course it requires a lot of work and a lot of research, and they don't have funds to do that. I was doing it personally, out of the way. First thing is, now this veterinary people, they tell us that most of these cow diseases come because always some placenta remains inside when cow gives birth to an offspring. And that is the main reason now. This has come in very recently, within that last year or so. This is the reason. And this, we have found there that if the cows are bred in homotherapy atmosphere, with this Agnihotra, of course, which is the basic thing, then absolutely there is zero placenta that remains, and everything is so natural, and the mortality becomes less. And he has given some of those points also. So it is very interesting to know that. We have seen cows, even if you give them simple feeding or so, they are able to give milk. Then the milk content and the butter content also rises, and the quantity of milk also increases with this Agnihotra and Agnihotra ash. This is about the cows. We found only one place in the Amazons. I was looking, people in India call cows sacred, no? So whether there are any other people in the world who do the same thing. Only at one place we met there, they were all natives of those, That is before the Europeans came, and they still exist there. They said, if any animal comes on our farm, we will beat the animal with a stick. But if a cow comes, we will not. I asked them why. Because if a cow comes, we say it is something auspicious, because the breath of a cow will increase our production. And this is literally true. When people, economists in India, for example, when they talk about cow slaughter and the economic viability of a cow, they do not consider the breath of a cow, how healthy it is. And so long as the cow is alive, it is going to breathe, and it is going to give you dung and urine. So that is an important factor also to think about now. When the British came here and they started doing these district gazetteers, cow was the only animal which was taken as milch cattle and not buffalo. Cow was the only animal. Actually, there are no people in the world normally which drink any milk except cow's milk, all over the world. When some of these Europeans come here for a visit, it's a shock to them that you drink buffalo milk. You find only the former British colonies like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, parts of Nepal and all that, and extremely rare areas of Africa where people use buffalo. Everywhere it is cow's milk, so it comes as a shock. Cow is the only this milch cattle. Another thing that has come recently is the veterinarians, scientists in Denmark and England now, they are thinking now how we can now reproduce these cows which have a hump. Because of this hybrid thing, there is no hump. And of course the Russian scientists, they told me cows without hump will be the first victims of radioactivity. Now talking about radioactivity, I was told several years before the year 2000, they told me there is one thing that absolutely we have no solution. After the year 2000, just in a few years, everything that grows in Europe, not only Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Central Europe, everything that grows in Europe will be radioactive. Every food, every item of food, every medicinal tablet will be radioactive. And that time is now. Everybody, NASA is talking about 3-4 more years, others are also. So this is about radioactivity. After several experiments, for a few years, Russians came to the conclusion that only way to save us is eating Agnihotra ash. Powder this ash a little in the morning, twice, preferably 3 times a day, and drink a little water. I asked them why. They said, according to law of metabolism, even if you are forced to eat radioactive food, the body is bound to throw it out if you use this Agnihotra ash. It contains so many elements. From the beginning I had told them, please do not go into methods of chemistry to find out how this Agnihotra works. You will not find much. It is much deeper than that. If you use methods of quantum physics, then of course you will find it as a wonderful tool. Then several problems came. Unfortunately, it was communist government, so everything goes to the government, everything secret. It was not like Peru. Peru, we have official documentation. But there, another main problem, and of course, some of these things, some American scientists tried to find out afterwards, because when they came to know about it, they were able to meet one person after the Berlin Wall went, Then, but the things he told about Agnihotra was extremely interesting. He was a person specialized, he was working with as a research scientist for the Soviet Army in their research section. And he was a specialist in geopathogenic zones, specialist for that purpose. Now, he made a statement that he described Agnihotra in his own way, something connected with ultraviolet photons, this something happens. He described it his own way. But he says, if this Agnihotra is practiced around the globe, then it will enhance the energy surrounding this earth and the cycle of maintaining this earth cycle, about which we know very little about that. But he said a firm statement, a scientist making a firm statement, and these are top scientists, mind you. He said, this has the potential to eliminate all the toxins created by industrial revolution in the last 100 years. So, you see, it's a very important thing, this homotherapy.
I went with Shree in South America, Chile, to the last human habitation most to the south, which is Punta Arenas. There, because of the effect of the ozone holes, there is cancer and leukemia at the level of epidemic. The plant kingdom looks as if someone would have poured boiling water on them. People, when they drive, they have to wear gloves, otherwise they develop oozing sores in their hands, in their neck, in the face. The government has given thousands of sunglasses to farmers, and some farmers said, when have you seen a farmer with sunglasses? And they did not wear them. Those farmers developed cataracts. It is very common for children to have cataracts and other problems with the eyes. Overnight, thousands of sheep became blind. Thousands of salmon became blind. In the television, every day they say, tomorrow, no one should expose themselves to the sun more than 40 minutes, 35 minutes. It changes every day. And initially they had colors, but they stopped doing that because almost every day was orange or red, which means that no activity could take place. Some children have actually vomited their intestines because of the effect of the ozone hole on the health of the people. And this is the situation in Punta Arenas, in the country Chile or South America, which is known in South America. The situation in Argentina, in the city called Ushuaia, which is the southernmost human habitation in Argentina, the situation is the same, but people do not know about it because the military hold that information and they do not inform the people.
All the scientific opinion today is unanimous, and they tell us that it will not be possible for life to exist on this planet just in a matter of few years for these various reasons. But here we are not talking something like a prophet of doom. Here, based on this ancient Vedic knowledge, we have the diagnosis in the left hand, but we also have a solution in the right hand. There is a strong divine will, and the planet is going to be saved. Science, this ancient science, will pave the way to kingdom of heaven on earth. It will be soon. That time is also soon after these disasters. It will be peace, bliss, and prosperity for each and every one on earth. There is a strong divine will, and nobody can oppose it. That is why all these homas are spreading in such a big way. All the ancient science is now resuscitated. Thank you. Idam na mama